Three major decisions. The Board of Health has to make a decision at the end of this month whether they're going to grant Wind Waste a minor modification, that's a legal term, minor modifications to their site assignment, which would allow them to convert 150 cubic yards a day out of their permitted 800 into MSW, which would solve a major problem for this town. I'm going to get into that problem. The second major decision is before the Board of Health. Do they want to execute a 15-year contract with Wind Waste for preferable disposal pricing? And the third decision is before your town manager for whether we're going to convert to side loaders or continue buying rear-end loaders, because four of those rear-end loaders are now over 250,000 miles. And as you'll see in these pictures, many of them are rotting away. So we're going to be buying rubbish trucks. The question is, what do we want to do? What do we want to buy? So I'm going to get into those issues tonight and the reasoning behind the proposal I'm making to the Board of Health and to the Select Board. Your feedback is very important. Very, very, very important. All I ask is that your feedback is based upon factual data and that it's relevant to the issues at hand this evening. We don't want to go down a rabbit hole on unrelated issues about what we did here 25 years ago or what's going to happen 25 years from now. We have got a major, major challenge facing this town right now. It's a crisis. It's a crisis for all 351 cities and towns across the Commonwealth. And many of the towns in the Commonwealth are dealing with it like this. If I don't see it, if I can't hear it, it doesn't exist. Now, by the time this crisis lands at your doorstep, I'll be retired. I'll be long gone. And so people who are close to me or part of my family or dear friends who I love and they love me, they say, why the hell are you raising this issue now? There's no upside for you personally, Tom. And they were 100% right. There's no upside for me personally at all. I'm raising it so that 3.5 years from now, when the crisis lands at our doorstep, people aren't saying, how did we not know about this? Why didn't we do anything about this? And I don't want them looking back and saying, Carlton just ignored it. My job as your town manager, you have in your charter a form of government called a strong town manager form of government. That means that you pay me to take on the hard problems. It's not my job to make sure the trains run on time or that I march in parades. It's my job to take on really hard problems. Think deeply about them. Come up with solutions that are good for the taxpayers of this town. Now, I know some people love to talk about their love for taxpayers all the time. I not only love the citizens of this town, that's my job. And failure to do nothing could cause a price increase in your disposal pricing, not by 1 or 2%, by 3 or 4 times what you're paying right now. Let me say that again. Failure to do nothing will result in a 2 to 3x, 3 times what you're paying right now. So can we at least agree on one thing before we begin? So I know we agree on at least one thing. We need to know what that crisis is and what action we're considering. We can disagree on what the appropriate action is, but we got to at least acknowledge there's a crisis. Nobody can say in 3.5 years, I didn't know. In 350 towns, they're going to say, I didn't know. So I'll start off with one piece of information. Your neighbor, Avon, just signed a contract with CMAS to renew. As you all know, CMAS renews for 15 years with everybody. They're so concerned about the long-term viability of that incinerator, that's where we send our material, they only agreed to a 5-year contract. Further validating that in 3.5 years, when our contract is up with CMAS, they will either not be available to us, and nobody really knows, but it is a 41-year-old plant. They will either not be available to us, or the price will be so cost prohibitive that we won't be able to afford to do it. Before I begin, I'd like to read a bunch of comments I've read online, because I think if I can clarify these things first, it'll take away a lot of the confusion about information. The first thing I read online is it is our plan to outsource trash pickup. Raise your hand if you've read that online. Anybody else? Did you read that online? It's not true. We've got no plans, haven't and don't today, have any plans to outsource trash pickup. I met with the trash throwers and all of DPW, I don't know, what was it, Kurt, 2 or 3 weeks ago? Yeah. And in front of all of them, made a personal pledge. I have no plan. It is not part of my plan to the town to outsource trash pickup. You love your trash. We love our trash throwers. We love our DPW people. So can we put that to bed? We are not outsourcing trash. Second thing I read online, converting to auto side loaders will result in trash thrower layoffs. In that same meeting 3 weeks ago, I looked squarely in the eyes of all 10 trash throwers and promised them they will not be laid off. They will not be laid off. I'm saying it again. They will not be laid off. Our plan is if we convert to side loaders over a course of 2 years, those throwers will be retrained in any one of 10 functions within DPW, from forestry to building roads to laying pipe to janitorial services at a higher rate of pay. So over the 2-year period that we go through this process, everybody will be offered a new position. We will pay them for their retraining, and we will pay for the retraining so that they will have, as long as they do the work, higher paying jobs in full employment with the town. So can I put that issue to bed? Trash throwers will not be laid off. Now, having said that, now this is in favor of the taxpayers. The savings by going to automation is anywhere between $800,000 to $1 million a year. That $800,000 to $1 million a year will be needed to pay the difference on the price increase of tipping fees so that there's no impact on taxpayers as a result of those massive increases that are coming whether we stay with CMAS or whether we go with wind waste. Prices are going up. The only way I know of to pay for those increased expenses is either to raise your taxes, to increase the rate that the customers pay, or to lower our costs. All along, we've chosen to lower the cost through automation, through technology, through consolidation of departments. It's my plan to lower the cost of pickups through side loaders so that to cover the cost of the increase in the tipping fees. Number 3 was very hurtful, but expected. Calta must be in cahoots with Republic Services. I'm not going to speak for that very long. I'm in cahoots with the taxpayers of Stoughton. That's all I care about. I've never had a discussion with Republic. I've never negotiated with Republic. I know 3 people in Republic. I know that Avon uses Republic. I know that their people went on strike, causing a lot of problems for a lot of towns. That's one of the many reasons we're keeping it in-house. Because our union, our DPW union members cannot strike. So that's why I'm keeping it in-house. That and because I really care deeply about those people. But no, I'm not in cahoots with Republic or anyone else. I'm in cahoots with you. Your interests are my only interests. This is about taxpayers. It is about residents. You pay me to make sure I come up with a plan that has your back. And I've done that. Yet I read these things every night. Number 4, we are trying to raise prices to push our seniors out of town. I found that one very interesting. Because if I don't do something about this crisis, the seniors' rates could go from $280 a year to $2,000 a year. Failure to do nothing is a decision. If we make the decision to do nothing, we will be pushing our seniors out of town because they can't afford $2,000 to get rid of their rubbish. The next thing I read, we don't need to change anything. We love our trash, quote unquote. That's just the way it is. Well, I don't love our trash. I love our trash throwers. I love our DPW people. I don't love our trash. Trash is not fun. I don't know of anybody that's in love with trash. I do appreciate that the people who are throwers are very good to our citizens and they've built a personal relationship, and I'm grateful to them for that. That's really cool. That's great stuff. But if we want to keep our seniors, if we want to keep trash affordable, we don't need to change anything. That's like saying to a person with cancer, just ignore it, it'll go away. This is not going away, folks. You should be comforted by knowing that your town is going to address it head on, and we've got a unique opportunity before us to hit it head on. If it weren't for Wind Waste asking for this minor modification, I wouldn't have any solutions for you other than side loaders. But we have an opportunity here to stabilize the rate increases and at the same time reduce our operating budget by close to $1 million to minimize, if not eliminate, the impact on our taxpayers, especially our seniors. The next thing, amending the wind waste permit is not a minor modification, but a major modification. I've heard that made specifically with a gentleman in this room who used to be our town manager. The DEP is going to make that ruling this week. So before the hearing at the end of the month, our town council has already ruled it's not a major modification, it's a minor modification. But it's being used as an argument to oppose it. So we've asked DEP to make that decision for the town. Is this a major modification or a minor modification? Next one. This is a contentious issue. It is a contentious issue. And that's why I'm here tonight, to give you all sides of that issue, so that you have the same information when you leave here this evening that I've had, and I've had for months, and that I sleep with at night, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I worry about it, and I think about it, and I drive myself to come up with another strategic component that can make it easier for the people of Stoughton. And now we've got that plan. But the reason I couldn't discuss it is because we were in active negotiations with Wind Waste. And if it leaked out that I was negotiating a deal with Wind Waste, where if they wanted something from our town, they were going to give something back to our town. And that's the deal I'm going to lay out to you in a few minutes. Those are the things that were written online that I wanted to start off with, just kind of clear the air, so we're not trying to shadow box with information that can be dispelled pretty quickly by a lot of people I've read from that are present in this room. Let's talk about how trash has changed. If you're over 40, let's make it 50. If you're over 50, you probably saw somebody you love changing the oil in their car and putting it down the sewer. Raise your hand if you may have seen that. You're not implicating your parents. You may have seen your mother or father in the backyard with a 55-gallon drums and holes in the side burning your trash. Anybody see that? Peter, you've seen it all. You may have gone to the dump with your mother or your father and emptied the rubbish out of your trunk or on the back of your pickup truck into an unlined hole in the ground called a landfill. That's right. You may, as I know, I grew up in the hazardous waste industry. You may have known that at 17 years old, I was on the back of a vacuum truck going through Will's Pit here in Stoughton, or is it Canton? Canton. Will's Pit road oiling to keep the dust down in that dusty dust bowl? You wouldn't know because you may not have been in the hazardous waste industry, but I can tell you that as recently as 1985, we were burying oil-contaminated dirt in Stoughton's landfill, unlined landfill, that will create problems for this generation and generations to come for 100 years. I can tell you during my beginning in the industry, a 55-gallon drum of oil-contaminated soil costs $40 a drum to dispose of. The price today is closer to $500 a drum. And it's all transported to one of three places. Amel, Alabama, thank you, Cynthia, Model City, New York, or Beatty, Nevada. The hazardous waste life cycle is 25 years ahead of the MSD, Municipal Solid Waste or trash life cycle. Within 4 years, all of the waste that we produce in our households that can't be recycled is going to end up in another state, in my view. We pray to God CMAS would remain open. The fact that they're only given 5-year contracts now, the fact that they have shut down, I've got a copy of the report that our health agent did, a form of audit on CMAS. If you're a betting man or woman, the likelihood is that plant, being 41 years old, is at the end of its planned life. When that shuts down, our waste will be going out of town, out of state. And we could be facing a factor of 2 to 3x increase in our pricing if we fail to act now. And the only reason now is important is because wind waste needs something from us. And if we didn't have that opportunity, I wouldn't raise this issue tonight because we'd have no choice. We'd have no alternative. We'd have no options. The other 350 towns don't have the option we have right now. So with that, I'm going to start getting into the presentation. I just want to make a couple of points. On the back of your handout, I gave you a handout that has a description of each of our slides. So you're welcome to read along. And at the end of the evening, if you want a copy of the presentation, we'll give you one. Everything's an open book. No secrets at all. Also in the back of that is a list of all the data sources for what I'm going to say this evening. This is not a technical presentation. It's not a technical paper. But I've provided for you, we've been studying this issue for 6 months. I've provided for you a glossary of all of the sources of data. You can simply plug them into your search. I think that's what it's called. You can simply plug it in and see the data that is being published by the EPA, by the industry leaders, and by the DEP, okay? All that information is there for you. I'm not a technical person like Mark or like Larry. If there are technical questions we can answer, we'll answer them, but the data is right in front of you. So if you could go to the first chart, if you don't mind. This summarizes in 4 bullet points the major crises. Number 1, Stoughton's contract with CMAS expires in January of 2030, less than 4 years from now. Less than 4 years from now. Avon signed the new 5-year contract with CMAS just very recently, and it's 25% higher that they agreed to than what we're paying right now. And we're still in the early stages of this crisis. That's where industry analysts are saying that once it goes out of state and to incinerators outside of Massachusetts, that's when we're going to see a catastrophic hit. And I'm certain that's when some people are going to say throughout the Commonwealth, what happened? Why did this happen? Next bullet, industry consolidation will double or triple pricing. What does that mean? McNamara, everybody raise your hand if you know McNamara's. All those small companies throughout the state are going to have a failure or an inability to find a place in state to dispose of their waste. So across the state, across all of the Northeast, those companies have been purchased by large national firms. You've heard the names. Excuse me, Lisa, as I just said, we're going to pass those out afterwards, if you wouldn't mind. Rules apply to everybody. Thank you. So you've heard the firms, Republic, National, Win, Paul, another big one? Waste Management. Those are the big players who were on a major consolidation and major monopoly tour. Now, why is that important? Once all the companies join forces, you have no buying power. You have no buying power. None. In all of those companies, if you can go to the next point, all of those companies own local transfer stations, like Page Street, rail spurs in Massachusetts, rail cars throughout the country, landfills, and incinerators. They also have curbside pickup. And when we go to bid this in 3 years, if we don't make a deal now, they're not going to say to you, hey, Tom, here's the menu. What do you want us to provide for you? Do you want rail transportation? Do you want incineration? Do you want landfill? Do you want... They're going to say, this is not a menu. You don't get to pick and choose what you want. And guess what they're going to demand as a condition of bidding it? Curbside pickup. Curbside pickup. They're not going to say pick the features and benefits you want. They're going to say it's all or nothing. And all four of the major companies have the same resources. And they're all going to give us the same predicament. You take all of our services or we're not bidding on it. Well, if all four of them don't bid on it, we become constipated with trash in this town. It's the same as Republic going on strike. You saw what happened when Republic went on strike. So again, we can go like this, but that's where we're going to be in 3.5 years if we don't figure this out. Next major problem, operational approach is outdated, it's dangerous, and it's expensive. Outdated. Very few towns buy brand new rear-end loaders. It's like buying a, I don't have a good example. A what? There you go. They're dangerous. They're very dangerous. In this last year alone, we had 2 major workers' compensation settlements. Both throwers. Years ago, many of you probably know the gentleman who lost both legs. One leg? Juan Silva. I was going to use his name, but one leg, pardon me. And if I misspeak, it's not that I'm trying to mislead you. I was told he lost both legs. I wasn't here. I don't know the gentleman. That was because a driver at that time, I think it was over a decade ago, there was a driver at that time who smashed into the back of the rear-end loading truck.
Because he did clear off his windshield.
Good.
Only left a little circle.
There you go. This day and age, we've got people of all ages driving down the street like this, or driving down the street like this, texting. The likelihood of another catastrophic crash like that is greater now than ever before. So it's outdated. It's old technology. It's dangerous. That only speaks to common sense. I've got data in this chart that'll show what the injury rate is for throwers versus the rest of the town. And it's expensive. It's 3 men or women per truck versus 1, the driver. And the driver never gets out of his or her truck. So it cost us $800,000 to $1 million a year to use the old technology. And it's more dangerous, it's more archaic. Next chart, please. Trash bags attract rodents. Anybody in the health department is going to tell you it's a major problem in Stoughton that we've been unable to solve. We have rodents everywhere. I get more calls about rats and rodents in my office than any other issue. The next picture is a funny look at what we're trying to express here. Now, I got a shot across the bow from a critic, one of the constant critics that said, Mr. Coulter, what do you think? This is funny? You think this is a funny issue? Quite frankly, folks, I was trying to just make light of a serious issue. Exhibit 1, please. Because I didn't think people really wanted to see and feel and own the extent of this problem. This was taken in Stoughton. This is the extent of the way we do trash right now. This is the result. And I get more calls from residents saying, what are you doing about the trash? They say, we love our trash guys, but we hate our rats. What are you doing about the rats? This plan addresses the rats. So if you wouldn't mind going back to the last 2 charts, the list of things. Go backwards 2, please. One more. That's forward, but that's fine. The 4 issues that are the major issues that I presented tonight already, this plan addresses the tipping fees. It addresses the industry consolidation which will affect our ability to do our own curbside pickup. It affects our operating approach and the massive cost associated with outdated approaches to trash removal. And it affects probably the most important thing on that chart, the safety of our employees. The safety of our employees. What did I do? Thanks, guys. Next chart, please. We're going to start with the data part of this. The table of content, we're going to deal with the economic conditions driving the prices. You know, I'm not going to go through this. I hate when people give a presentation, they read to you what you can read. That's our table of content. And again, this is going to be in what we hand out to you in the end. First chart, please, page 4. This is really very simple. There's this concept called the economic rule of supply and demand. It's called Keynesian economic theory. When you've got demand for a service that is constant or rising, but you've got your capacity that is low and getting lower every day, the impact on that is pricing. The impact on that is pricing. It's basic economic theory, and it's getting worse. Your material, our material, is still going into a Stoughton, it's still being dealt with in a Massachusetts company. That could very easily be coming to an end. And even if we stay with CMAS, as I said, CMAS gave Avon their pricing this week. It's 25% higher than what you're paying right now. So if CMAS gives us new pricing, do we think it's going to be the pricing that visionary forefathers of this town negotiated 41 years ago? No way. We're just not being grounded in reality there. So as our material stays the same level, that's called demand, and our capacity goes down, the corresponding result in any market, it's not just trash, is prices go up. Next chart, please. This is how many landfills we had in Massachusetts in the 80s. This is how many we have now. 5. 7, pardon me. I count 5. 5 landfills. And those are scheduled to close in the next several years, by 2040, I believe. Yes, 2040. Our current landfills, as of 3 years ago, 2023, were at 79% capacity. They were almost full. Now, you may say, how in God's name has our government allowed this to happen? And this is important to point out. We are what's called a home rule state in the Commonwealth. Local cities and towns have tremendous control over what goes on in their town. The state cannot mandate to the town of Stoughton that we build an incinerator in your backyard. Thank God. But 350 other towns have that same right. So there are no permits pending before DEP to build an incinerator or lined landfill in their backyards. So this material will be going out of state. There's absolutely no question. It would take 5 to 10 years to site a new incinerator. A process hasn't even begun for one. So our material is going out of state. This is the supply as our demand has remained constant or gone up. This is our capacity right here since 1980. Isn't that picture striking? And the regulators in Washington and the regulators in Massachusetts have done nothing about it. It's sad, but that's the case. That's where we are. Now, it's not only because it's a home rule state. The problem is a Northeast United States problem. It's not a national problem. In Model City, New York, Beatty, Nevada, Amel, Alabama, it could be 20 miles before you reach an incinerator of any home or office or commercial space. They've got all that open space. In Mass and throughout the Northeast, we have a very dense area, very dense. So any new incinerator or landfill will be in someone's backyard. And that just simply won't happen in the state of Massachusetts. How many here would oppose an incinerator? If we could get free trash, how many here would oppose an incinerator in Stoughton? How many would support it?
You have to know other situations. Environmental hazards.
Sure. Fair enough. Yep. Of course. I appreciate that. I really do. Next chart, please. Demand and pricing. Because 85% of our remaining disposal pricings are owned by a declining number of companies, prices are expected to double or triple. They have market power. It's called a monopoly. The federal government should be outlawing this monopoly, but they're not. The national decline in waste means higher landfill tipping prices, increased incineration pricing, and rising costs of out-of-state transportation. And again, the big companies own the rail station, own the rail cars. You can't be competitive and truck this in 30-yard dump trailers to Alabama. The cost would be $1,000 a ton. They have to go on 100-yard rail cars. And only the big companies own those rail cars. Next chart, please. As I said, 4 major companies. These are the services they provide. I already touched on this. Oh, geez, I did it again. Exit, escape. They provide residential curbside pickup. They have local transfer stations to bring waste in small quantities and then load it onto 100-yard or 40-yard trailers to bring them to their facilities, or train station, pardon me. They have regional rail spurs and 100-yard rail cars. They have out-of-state landfills and incinerators. By 2030, national service providers may not allow customers to pick from their menu. It will be all or nothing. And so the irony of all this, the richness of all of this, but I'm trying to get rid of DPW doing trash. What I'm here to tell you is the exact opposite is true. Failure to act will put us in a position where we don't have a choice but to relinquish curbside pickup to people we don't know. And I believe that would be a tragedy for Stoughton, a real tragedy. It's only in acting now that we can control our own destiny for 15 years. Next chart, Kelsey. Next chart. We need to do our part as well. If you could read this definition of waste minimization, it includes source reduction and recycling. I'm not being critical of the people of Stoughton because I personally do a terrible job at recycling in my home. So I can't judge anybody. But we're well below the state average on how much material how much waste we minimize, either through source reduction or recycling. Please, when you take a copy of this presentation tonight, study these terms. This is one of the most important ways we can control our costs here in Stoughton. But we just got to commit to it, which means we've got to provide more education. We've got to provide resources for you to recycle effectively. Your government has to do its part, but then you have to do your part. When you look at the next chart about what we recycle, we're going to take questions at the very end. Thank you. When you look at the data as to how much we recycle versus the rest of the state, Stoughton is behind the curve. Most DEP reports, and this is in the background data I gave to you, Stoughton disposed of approximately 15 million pounds of solid waste, of municipal solid waste, which could have been removed from the waste stream through source reduction and recycling. 15 million pounds that we paid to dispose of that could have been recycled or could have been eliminated from the waste stream. At approximately $83 a ton, which is what we pay now, that adds up to $600,000 that we could save if we could commit ourselves to everybody in this town, including us, our children in schools, to commit to recycling and source reduction. This is the most important part. The average Massachusetts household generated 1,661 pounds of trash in 2024. In Stoughton, we generated 2,190 pounds of trash per household. No judgment here. We just have to do a better job of controlling our own costs. And it's going to require the input and the efforts of all of us. There's no silver bullet. We think we have a deal here that mitigates our crises, but there's no silver bullet associated with lowering our cost. Stoughton has a waste diversion of 9.2% and a recycling rate of 15%, well below the statewide average. Finally, now that's good. Go to this challenge. Next chart, please. Stoughton current challenges. The CMAS incinerator has unknown sustainability. I had a gentleman who I have great respect for that says he was told CMAS is going to be open for another 30 years. It's in its 41st year. It's beyond its designed lifespan. Now we learn they're giving out 5-year contracts. It seems to me, after giving out 15-year contracts for all these years, they don't have great confidence about the sustainability of that plant without putting in tens of millions of dollars. By 2030, two to three major full-service competitors will control the entire market. We've spoken about that. It's essential to understand that analysts are projecting not a 10%, 20%, 50%, 90%, but a 2 to 3 time increase in municipal solid waste disposal. Next chart, please. Stoughton's current, this is continued. Bags left on the curbs undermine our commitment to community beautification. Our rear end loading trucks are expensive and dangerous. Operating costs are extremely high, $800,000 a year to have a 3-man crew versus a one-person crew. Pardon me for using man, a 3-person crew versus a 1-person crew. Our aging fleet, and you'll see a chart in here, of 8 rear-end loading trucks necessitates 2 dedicated mechanics, diverting resources from repairing other cars in this town. We get our fire trucks all serviced outside of Stoughton. We get our police cars all serviced outside of Stoughton because our staff of mechanics are repairing old and outdated trucks. 4 of the 8 have over 250,000 miles on them. So it's not a matter of we're not buying new trucks. We're buying new trucks if you want to continue to pick up trash. The question, are we going to buy the old ones or the new ones? Last point, wear and tear on personnel creates a litany of workers' compensation claims. We just paid a man $41,000 who worked for us for 3 days. We didn't pay him. Workers' Compensation Board spent our money to pay him. He said he fell off the truck, although the person on the other side said he jumped off the truck. He said he was stung by a bee, hit by a branch, and then rolled around on the ground after it was going 5 miles an hour, and then said, I have back pain. We paid him for a very long time, and finally Workers' Comp just settled with him for a nice paycheck. It is a very dangerous job. And for those, not that work here, we've got some of the longest term trash throwers in the industry, people we have great respect for. But don't you think for a second that the sham artists don't look at Stoughton's trash program and standing on the back of a trash truck as an opportunity for a quick score. I see it over and over and over again. And we operate in a state that hands out our checks like we don't have to work hard to earn them. We don't have that problem with auto side loaders. Next shot, please. Side loader versus rear loaders. Look at this closely. This is on the side of our truck, of our current truck. A fall hazard. We're admitting it. This is dangerous. We're admitting it. We're advertising it. And people who apply for jobs know that. To them, that's a $50,000 score. And I'm talking about the people who are not hurt. The ones who are genuinely hurt, we're the first to step up and take care of them. That's the side of one of the trucks go out every day. That's rot, folks. The steel rotting right through. This is the back of a rear end loader. This is a side loader. Next chart, please. I'm sure I did something again. This is simply, and you can study it when you get home, the inventory of our 8 trucks. 264, 244, 233, 200, 162. These are the 2 new ones we bought 3 years ago that have 36 and 32,000 miles. And we'll run those until they die because we'll have them as backup should a rail loader break down. Or we may use them for recycling, but we'll still use them. I'm sorry? Thank you. Pretty expensive propositions. Thank you for pointing that out, Kurt. I appreciate that. Next chart, please. Imagine putting a new transmission in a truck with 250,000 miles on it. Wind Waste Innovations, I want to tell you a little bit about this company. They run the C&D facility on Page Street. What is C&D? It's construction debris. It's if this building was torn down, this material would go there. Bricks, mortar, stone, wood, steel. That's a C&D facility. They've made an application to convert of their 800 tons a day of MSW into 650 of MSW, 650 of C&D material, which is their current permit, and convert 150 of that to municipal solid waste. They're not seeking to increase the amount of tonnage or the amount of trucks. They're seeking to convert a portion of their C&D material into municipal solid waste, which is to our good fortune. Rather than an expensive round trip to CMAS down in Rochester, we can deliver your trash material to the Page Street facility, and they will transport it from there. That's why we've got 250,000 miles on some of these trucks, is the daily trips to Rochester. Finally, Stoughton produces approximately 30 tons a day. That leaves 120 that they can sell to surrounding towns, because every one of these towns are going to be in serious, serious, serious trouble. We'll receive $1 a ton on any material that comes in from other towns. I believe on the next chart it's about $35,000, $40,000 a year. I plan, unless told otherwise, that it's in our best interest to promote the passage of that minor modification. I think the Board of Health now sees the rat problem is the primary issue under their purview, that the only way to remove the rats is to remove the feeding source of those rats. our macro plan, continue to utilize DPW to pick up the waste at each citizen's location. It's a commitment I made months ago, and I will not change for anything. Develop faster, cheaper, cleaner, and safer operations for town employees. Train former throwers in other DPW job functions. Employees will be retained, retrained, and paid at a higher rate. A trash throwing laborer is the lowest rate we have. So they will be trained in everything from forestry, pipe laying, road reconstruction, building drains, painting, water treatment and operations. All of those things are easy to be trained in. We'll pay for the training. We'll pay them while they're training. We want them to stay on board. There will be no layoffs. Now, that means we won't enjoy the $800,000 benefit right away. They will take the place. We will overstaff all of our departments by those 10 people. And as people leave through natural attrition or through retirement, the throwers will take their jobs and will eventually reach the level we should be at, which will save us $800,000 to $1 million a year to subsidize the increases in disposal. That's the plan. Minimize or reduce rodents and invest in 2 containers for all residents, containers that fit their needs. We've scheduled in 96-gallon containers, one for trash, one for recycling. There are people that said, well, I produce 1 bag. Cynthia, I bet you don't need a 96-gallon container, and I'll bet you'd have a challenge bringing it outside. Cynthia may want a 35-gallon container, and we'll provide that. Other people may say, I want a 60-gallon container for recycling, but a 95-gallon container for my trash, because I have a family of 4, a family of 5. We're not going to roll this in at once. It'll be 2 trucks a year for 3 years. So a different route will come online each year. I'm going to make one point about this right now. It's been made very clear to me, very, very, very clear to me. We do not want to outsource pickup. And I hear you, loud and clear. But make no mistake about it. I've got Avon's contract in there right now. I know what they're paying per ton for pickup. Outsourcing pickup would be far cheaper, and we wouldn't have to spend $3 to $4 million in trucks. So make no mistake about it. You've got the right to have a preference to do it internally or do it externally. It's been made clear to me you want to do it internally, and I'm all in. And I do like avoiding the possibility of a strike. So I think that makes good sense to keep it all in. But let's not kid ourselves that it's cheaper to keep it in-house, because it's not. Next chart, please. That's what your containers will look like on the side. Rats can't get in them, rats can't get at them. This is, Paul, I think this is a 96-gallon, is it? Yes, okay. That's what it would look like. And you can see how they're loading it from the passenger side so that they're always out of the way. There's nobody in the way of oncoming traffic. Next shot, please. These are the data. I won't read it to you, but you can read it when you get the presentation. The safety improvements from side loading and the efficiency enhancements. These work at almost a 40% faster rate than the old way we're doing it. So we can perhaps do what we're doing now in 4 days in 3 days. Now again, Mark gave me some great advice. This is just about the win-waste deal. Why are we talking about side loaders? We don't have to get the side loaders done now. We don't have to get them done at all. But if we don't take advantage of automation like we have for 3 years, the town right now has, the municipal side has 23 fewer employees than we had 3 years ago. That's why our budget on the municipal side is only at a little over 3% increase. It's the reason we don't use free cash anymore in our budget. It's the reason that you're not subsidizing enterprise funds with town municipal money. It's the reason that we're not using free cash to balance our budgets. If we don't save the money from automation, then how do we pay for the additional cost of the tipping fees? That's why I combine the two issues. Next chart, please. All right, it's the part I was hoping for. Everybody will get to ask one question before we go on to second. Happy to take any questions. Mark, could you join me up here? Because you may have the answer to a bunch of these. Anybody here got a question? Yes, sir.
With Wynn, where they have the property over there, do we have the ability to negotiate with them? Is that their property?
Yes.
So we do have that ability. So
Yes.
you possibly could get maybe more money coming in per ton to help defer our costs?
Absolutely.
And is there any way we can limit other people coming in to create longer longevity for us?
Well, they will have the right under this permit to take in 150 tons a day. We only produce 30.
Okay.
Now, it's not economically, doesn't make sense for them to just increase it by 30 tons a day. That makes no economic sense for them. But in terms of the terms and conditions, we're asking the board to vote at the end of this month on the site assignment, but their vote will be subject to a satisfactory final negotiation on what our benefits are with the town.
Right. So those two things I think would be very beneficial to us if it's possible.
I really appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So you talk about the possibilities independently of each other and not how they would work cohesively in terms of new trucks means a lack of fixed asset repairs. We don't know how much repairs run us. I'm not talking about generic repairs and maintenance. I'm talking about transmission is going to be once every 2 to 3 years. That's an above average cost, or what our insurance loss run is currently versus the potential of what it would be reduced by, and what our insurance savings result would be. I'd like to hear some actual numbers instead of the theoretical independent differences that could be presented to us as a community. A year or two ago, we talked about, and this is one question, so I'm sorry for the longevity. A year or two ago, we had this trash issue. We talked about different things that the town was going to do. How much revenue have we generated by forcing our older people that put out Shaw's bags, making them get a trash can? Is that currently happening? Because even if you get the side loaders, if people are still putting out Shaw's bags, Stop and Shop bags, we're going to have the same rodent issue.
So there's a lot to unpack there. Let me take it in reverse order. Our seniors pay 50% less than everyone else. That was part of the reorganization from 2 years ago. And even with that huge discount, our revenues, total revenues, are covering our total expenses because of the operating efficiencies we put in place 2 years ago. So we're at break even. As we continue to use trucks with 250,000 miles on them, as Kurt just pointed out, there are major catastrophic breakdowns that cost tens of thousands of dollars. I don't have quantifiable data, but it's in the attachment here. It shows the cost of side loaders versus the cost of rear end loaders. I mean, it stands to reason that a vehicle at 250,000 miles is going to be a higher maintenance and repair bill than a brand new truck. We have to get brand new trucks, whether we stay with rear end or whether we go with side loaders. They're at their end of life. And the more they break down, the more it's going to impact the service to the ratepayers. There's been no disruptions, but there will be if 4 of those trucks die at about the same time. With respect to insurance, our rates don't fluctuate based upon side loaders or rear end loaders, other than that it fluctuates with the value of the trucks. Our rear end loader costs approximately $30,000 more than a side loader because of the new automation and new technology versus old technology. But it won't affect our rates. What is being affected is our workers' comp rates. Our workers' comp rates have increased significantly. Anybody in the workers' comp business knows they base it on the lost runs. and they base it on your experience modification rating. And when we have people that suffer catastrophic injuries or workers' comp claims because they claim they fell off the truck and rolled around like a crying child for effect, then our loss rates are going up. Our workers' comp goes up. And it doesn't just go up for DPW, it goes up for every employee. So that's a substantial impact on the town. I think you had a fourth question in there somewhere. The loss rates, maintenance rates, rats. Shaw's bags. Seniors already get a 50, the cost of the bins. The consumer won't be paying for those.
Well, I will, because I pay my rates to the town. I mean, this fallacy that if you guys are spending, I'm not spending. You're spending my money.
No, with all due respect, ma'am, I'm doing everything possible to make sure you don't spend your money. The trade-in, sure. Yes, I'd like to have a conversation as opposed to an allegation. The bins, the older trucks still have trade-in value. My plan is to trade in the older trucks to raise the money to buy the bins so that the towns, the ratepayers don't pay it. My plan is to go to side loaders and save $800,000 to $1 million in labor so that we stabilize pricing and not have to pass on the increase that we're getting from the disposal firm into your rates. 2 years ago, we made major changes to the trash program. And since that time, our revenues have covered our expenses. In a very short period of time, our revenues will not cover our expenses. Now, we don't bill you because we enjoy it. We just have to cover the cost of our expenses. So this plan is all about controlling the expenses of this service so that it doesn't get passed on to you. And if we do the side loaders, that will help us deal with the most catastrophic price increase in tipping fees, in disposal fees, so that you don't have to pay for it. We wake up every day, and Mark and I and the senior staff work every day to figure out how to do more with less so it doesn't impact our taxpayers. That's why we're here tonight to talk about those options for doing this. Thank you for those questions. Rach, I'm sorry. I was supposed to go to here, then there, and then back to you.
I have a microphone here.
Over here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Avon is a postage stamp, doesn't even have its own area code. And from what I understand, Stoughton...
It's 02322. I grew up there.
They have a zip code. They don't have an area code. They have
I'm
a
sorry.
Brockton area code.
I'm sorry.
From what I understand, we had a 30-year deal with CMAS.
Correct, we did.
Stoughton's a lot bigger than Avon. Mm-hmm. It would seem to me that we could get a much better deal than Avon. And have you even talked to CMAS?
Sure.
Have you tried to negotiate with them?
No, we haven't sat down to negotiate. I reached out to them and asked them, let me tell you about the CMAS deal. Everybody says we've got a great CMAS deal. It's all back-end loaded. Over the next 5 years, our rates go up $10 a year per unit. $50 in 5 years. Our current rate is $83. That 30-year deal, actually, it was a 15-year extension 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was all beautiful, rosy for 11 years. In those last, or in 10 years, in those last 5 years, beginning this year, the unit rate goes up $10 a ton, 15%, plus inflation, which will be another 3%. Mm-hmm. That's already in their contract. They're going to charge us year one what they're charging Avon right now. I don't blame them. Supply and demand. There's no other alternative. Why would they give anybody a discount? They're at full capacity right now. They can't take in any more material and make any more money by growing their volume. So they're going to make it based upon increased unit pricing. Anybody in business knows
Quickly,
when you're at full
also,
capacity, you increase your prices.
Isn't this also ultimately a policy decision by the selectmen?
To do the long-term contract with Wind Waste is a policy decision.
And a lot of towns, to help the rat problem, mm-hmm. if you don't put out recyclables, they won't pick up your solid waste. So you either comply or your trash piles up in your driveway for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And that's something we could have been doing since this first go-around with the change.
I don't mean this disrespectfully, so please don't take it that way, but with 12 years in the legislature, we had the same credo as surgeons. First rule of thumb, do no harm. If we just stop picking it up, are we so naive as to think that stuff is not going to end up on vacant lots in the woods and all around Stoughton? That's what happens.
Well, if they get a notification that put your recyclables out and you'll be good, I think that would have worked.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you
think
for that.
that's, in the future, if we do end up with side loaders, that should be the policy as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, right, and then we'll go over here next.
Rich Terry, Precinct 8. To follow up on Paul's comments, I own a two-family house in Whitman, and they have that policy. If your recycle bin is not out with your trash bin, they don't pick it up. And I've owned that house since almost 45 years. That policy has been in place for over 10 or 15 years now, and they've had a tremendous success. It motivates their people in Whitman to do the right thing. What does Stoughton plan on using as a motivation to have people recycle? You said we do 2-point-something%, which is extremely low.
Yes.
So how do we motivate them?
We plan to begin in the schools. An old guy like me isn't as trainable as a young child who grows up recycling and talking to mom and dad about what we do with the plastic bottles. So we're going to begin there. We do view it as a public health issue, and we need all hands on deck. Paul, what is the policy about right now with respect to, do they put recycling and trash out at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. So you pick it up at the same time because it's a single stream
Not simultaneously, but on the same day.
on the same day? Okay, and tell me that again.
Separate trucks.
If they don't leave it out,
They
repeat that,
basically
please.
have two bins, the green and the blue.
Yes.
The green is recycled. And if the truck coming by to pick up the trash
Yep.
sees that there is no green recycling bin, they keep going and don't pick it up.
I hear your point now.
Okay.
Our plan, and it's 2 years from now, so I don't pretend to have all the details, so this input is really good. Our second truck will follow the first truck, and not 5 minutes away, not an hour away, but the same day. So we don't need the recycle bin to be out there at the time the trash is picked up, but we're not going to, it will come by and pick it up if it's out there when they do their route. Listen, we work for you. It's going to be a tough decision to say leave that on the curb. It's our job to pick it up and take care of it properly. One more from over here. In the back row.
Just a matter, question of logistics. When you say you're in negotiation, when you say you're negotiating with this company, are you negotiating also with the landowners?
The redevelopment authority?
Correct.
They're not party to the negotiations. They are the landlord for the tenant. So we're negotiating a pricing situation, a pricing agreement, which isn't final till it's final.
Okay, but when you're including the fees that you're saying are coming back to the town, some of those fees should be going to the redevelopment authority as well.
Well, I don't negotiate for the redevelopment authority. They're an
You
independent.
just said that they don't have a
They're-
point to negotiate, but now you're saying they do.
No, they can, I'm not saying that. They can negotiate with Wind Waste directly. The contractual relationship is with the redevelopment authority and Wind Waste. We have no standing there. We have no party there. They are an independent organization. Any more than they're going to negotiate the tipping fees for the town, we don't negotiate a deal with the redevelopment authority. That's completely up to the redevelopment authority with Wind Waste. Now, I can tell them I want to hear from the well, I can't speak to how it's been. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I'd love to hear more about that. I really would. I don't know what the redevelopment authority does. I know they're a tenant. I know they're the landlord. Yeah, but I'm not done answering it. Thank you. The lady has asked me to continue. The redevelopment authority, being a separate legal entity with the chairman appointed by the governor, not by the town, has a relationship with Wind Waste. I've never stepped on that relationship because I have no standing, the town has no standing. But if the redevelopment asks us for help in something, not me, they haven't. Next question, please. Yes, sir.
I did an informal survey just with friends that live in Canton because they had converted to the side loaders.
Right.
And I wanted to just hear about their experience. I, just put it to them, how do you feel about the side loaders and, any complaints? And he said, yeah, he liked it the old way. The problem he experiences is that he invariably runs out of room in his barrel. And he's like, I make a trip to the dump about every other week with this surplus that I can't fit in my barrel. I do everything to try to shove what I can in there, but he's like, we got our main house. My son and his wife and their child live in the secondary apartment above their garage, whatever. So there's, a good-sized family that's having the waste removed. Are we ostensibly going to be limited to that 95-gallon capacity? And if it goes over that, you're kind of stuck. That trash is not going to fit. It's not going to be taken away. What is the recourse? He said the one upside is when he goes to the dump every other week, he doesn't have to pay to drop it off there. It's free. So that's the one silver lining. But now he has the inconvenience of having to make that regular extra trip to the dump, which he didn't have to. That wasn't part of his routine, but it is now. So what about the potential for excess capacity at the homeowner's level? If you have a big party or something, that kind of throws you over the hump, how is that going to be addressed?
Sure. Unfortunately, we don't have a landfill like they have a landfill, I guess, if they go to the landfill every weekend. We will make arrangements for people who have a larger family and who need additional capacity. Remember, additional drums means they're producing more volume. If that were electricity, the more you use, the more you pay for, right? Trash is the only utility that is not pay as you use it, that isn't based upon your usage. So we'll come up with an answer to that. Brockton has a solution. All towns that use side loaders have solutions. I'm not sure I like any of them, so I'm still thinking hard about what we could recommend to the Stoughton citizens. And we'll do that. We'll come up with a solution. But we certainly don't want people to keep it stored in their home. We don't want other people to throw it in their neighbor's empty bin. We'll come up with a solution. We understand there are conditions like that, and we'll come up with a solution for that. I assure you of that. Oh, anything over here? Yes, go right ahead, sir.
Is it working? Great. Well, since my name was mentioned, I want to make a comment regarding
Just for the
about.
record, I didn't use your name. I said a former town manager.
And while you were looking right at me, okay. It's about the Board of Health, and it's about the difference between a minor and a major modification. Basically, if you look at the law, it's the Board of Health that makes the decision.
No question.
It's not the town council. It's not DEP. And if we want to use the town council as to meet the minimum layer of the law, which is a pretty low bar, I guess we're free to do that. But if you look at the difference of what they're talking about, construction and demolition, it's not household trash. It doesn't entice rodents. It doesn't do those types of things. And if we are getting into an agreement with Wind Waste, we don't have any particulars as to what we're getting and what we're not, as far as this quid pro quo arrangement where they get a license to bring in trash and we get some benefit. We don't know what that's going to be yet. But that should be open. I mean, we should know all about that before any particular votes are taken. So, that's my comment. The other comment that I would make, and it was made very clear tonight, the $800,000 to $1 million savings is going to be done through attrition of personnel. You're going to have 10 less people at the end of the day with this particular program, and that's how you're saving the money. It's not magically coming from any other place. Just one question. When you do buy the new side loaders, we won't have trucks to become sanders or other pieces of equipment, but where we're going to park them, because I understand they're not going to fit in any of our existing garages.
The answer to that question is they are larger. We'd have to make modifications. I get that. Thank you for that. Back over to this side. Rachel.
I did want to just respond briefly to one of your comments. You said that the $800K to $1 million per year that's going to be saved is through attrition. It is because there's probably not going to be new DPW hired if the people who are already here, and we love our DPW, we do not want you going away. There are so many jobs for DPW. There probably will be like a lower number of people being hired in the next couple of years, as like the people who retire, they're not going to need to be replaced as quickly. So, but there are so many jobs for DPW that could be done. So I think it's going to end up being fine.
Excuse me, through the moderator, please,
All right.
so we don't have a free-for-all. Kurt, you want to respond to that?
I'm saying that we've lost more than 10 people.
Okay.
Well, more than 10 people in 5 years. So that attrition would be within 5 years.
Okay, so then it won't be that long. There you go. Thank you so much.
On top of that, were you not paid to do this report, Rachel?
I was. And not all of my personal opinions are in it, which is one of the things I'm just about to say. So why isn't pay-as-you-throw or composting on the table as major options? Because long-term benefits, it would be cheaper for the town.
Right, we are doing composting at I believe, Paul. Well, Paul's coming up. It was composting and one other thing, Rachel. There were two things. Composting and
Composting or pay-as-you-throw?
pay-as-you-throw was resoundingly defeated. And I'm not open to torture or abuse. The citizens said no. They agreed to increase the price at a level that got us to break even. And that was our primary objective, getting to break even. But I was not going to pretend I wasn't listening. I heard the citizens loud and clear. Paul.
Composting, we don't perform that work. There's a contractor who does it in town, and there's information. I don't know if it's on our website. I don't know if it is or it isn't, but if you call the office, anyone interested in composting, we can suggest the vendor who does it for everyone in town if they wish to.
Thank you.
One more over here. Yes, ma'am.
I don't think you touched upon on slide 14 the additional revenue. It states that Stoughton will receive for materials delivered to the facility for other towns. That may be interesting.
Thank you for that. Britt, could you go back to slide 14? I want to guess it's $35 at $1 a ton from other sources, but we'll check right now. Yes, $1 a ton will raise $43,000 of unencumbered revenue, where they will deliver it to the transfer station. It runs directly to us. Thanks, Lou. Is that what you're looking for? Thank you. Over here. Who hasn't spoken? Yes, sir. Leo.
Thanks, Tom. I was just wondering that when you had shown the pictures with the rats around the bags and everything, the real pictures, commercial or residential?
I believe that was at a dumpster.
Yeah.
So that would be commercial.
You know, we're going to put all this money into...
No, excuse me, I'm wrong. No, I'm right. That was at a dumpster where there were bags flowing over the side.
We're putting all this money into getting the residents to belly up, pay the money, get the containers, work through this new possible program. But you continue to see the amount of dumpsters commercially around town that these people are just not emptying.
Sure.
And it's not getting addressed. I think it should be addressed as part of this. Years ago, they said they were going to start fining these people. That's where the majority of the rats are coming from. I mean, it's known to be commercial.
So if I may address that first, Leo?
Yep.
And I know you have a part B to that question.
Yep.
We do that now. Town meeting passed a bylaw which allowed us to fine people who are doing just that. Or if they refuse to fix it in 2 days, then we can go in, and Paul does, we can go in and clean it up ourselves and then bill them, and that bill gets attached to their tax bill. So, but we had no teeth until town meeting passed a bylaw that gave them teeth. We have a full-time inspector that goes out every day and does just that. Old habits are hard to change, as you know, but the bags you saw is a daily occurrence on the curbs of Stoughton every trash day. So yes, that, I believe, was associated with extra bags that didn't go in the roll-off, but went to the side of the roll-off. But I come into town a different way every single day. I come into town on the route that is being picked up that day. And we see that same scene of trash bags. Now think about that if you're a thrower. On a winter like this, where we got 18 inches, 2 feet of snow. By the time you get there, the bags are covered with snow and they're frozen. You got to fight your way through the snow. You got to pull them out. They're all stuck together. And then they break when you pull them out and the stuff goes everywhere. Or they're in a barrel and you go to dump it and it's frozen. So you can't get it out. You can't, it takes twice as long and it's twice the work for the throwers who work so very hard. And so, you know, we can, you had a second part of that question, I believe.
Yeah. I was just curious if Wind Waste had any possibility that they would reach out for a tie-in to our rail link. As you mentioned, that was coming, and is that why we might be so attracted to them down the road?
They have a rail link in Brockton and a rail link in Taunton. And that's where they bring all the compacted material in bulk form.
So it would be coming
they've got
into the
links
downtown.
and they've got the rail cars. Thank you, Leo. Didn't you worry? Go right ahead, ma'am. Ask another question if you want. Yes. No, then we'll go to Lisa. You seem anxious to ask a question.
Well, actually, I wanted to touch on the rats, because you did state, if I'm not mistaken, that once we go to the side loaders, that will eliminate the rat problem, which I don't think it will.
I don't think it'll eliminate the rat problem. It'll mitigate the rat problem. The bags are a major source. Our health department can speak to this if you'd like, Larry. The bags are a major known feeding source for rats, as that picture depicted. I don't think, as I said, there's a silver bullet that's going to make the rat problem go away. Each individual homeowner who's being invaded with rats has to also do their part, as I do at my home, to make sure that we're mitigating it on our own property. And what I've got Fran doing right now is negotiating with a major exterminating company that'll give our residents a massive increase if the town recommends them. So we're trying to make that as cost effective as possible. But there's no single thing that's going to eliminate rats, but the feeding source is, major feeding source is clearly the bags.
And us changing all of this over, how much are we going to be paying more for this?
We don't know what our final increase is going to be. I'm glad you asked that question.
I ask because
Sure.
we had a new library. I'm sorry, but the taxes have just
I understand.
keep going up between the new library. We voted no for a new school. Nobody was satisfied with that. It had to go to another vote so that way the yeses could win. So they won, they got the school, the taxes went up. What's this going to cost?
So let me answer that for you. We don't know until we get to the final stages of the bargaining table. And as I said over here, I forget who I said it to. There was somebody sitting right there. Any vote taken by the Board of Health will be subject to reaching a commercial agreement with the town on tipping fees and the like.
But will we have a say in that?
At the negotiating table?
Well, as far as are we going to be able to like...
Your representatives, the select board, are the policymakers. Only they can decide to do it or not do it. And of course, we'll have a public comment period to get citizens' feedback. But it's the decision of your elected leaders to make that decision and to make it based upon all the information. But I do want to get to your answer. When we get to the end, we know that unit prices for disposal are going to go like this. This is where we are right now. Over the next 5 years, as I said, it's going up $10 per ton per year. So we'll go from 83 to I think 100. I figured $130 with CMAS over the next 4.5 years. In the CMAS contract that everybody loves, that's in the contract signed 15 years ago. My hope is to do much better than that negotiating with Wind Waste. Much, much better than that. My second hope is that by converting to side loaders over that same 2 or 3 year period, we'll save $800,000 to $1 million to offset the impact on our citizens. That's the plan. As I said, there's no magic bullet. All I can promise you is we're thinking so hard on this. We're trying to come up with options. We're trying to come up with ways to protect the citizens of this town, the taxpayers of this town, from a catastrophic problem. Trust me, it would be so much easier to go like this.
Every few months or every
I share that.
7 months, we're getting hit with more taxes. I mean, come on, how?
Yeah, I hear you on that. I'm sympathetic. By the way, my trash pickup is 120% more than what you pay right now. 120% more. No, the point I'm trying to make is we have a beautiful, beautiful deal right now with CMAS. Well, everybody thinks it's a beautiful deal. It's rear end loaded.
But you don't know what the cost increase for us is going to go. So right now you say it's a great deal. You're telling us it's a great deal.
Ma'am, I'm not here to tell you what the final endpoint is. I'm here to inform the citizens of what we're doing, why we're doing it. I don't make the final decision on the Winway structure. Your board does. They make the policies for this town. I don't. I have to give them options for them to consider. Trust me when I tell you, I would bet you 75% of the town administrators and town managers in the state would never raise this issue because they don't plan to be there in 3-4 years. I'm just raising the issue to the interested parties of the town so you know the dilemma we're in. I completely empathize and understand your frustration regarding other issues. I respect that. I understand that. I'm just talking about what we can or may do to mitigate the impact on every single one of you of this Northeast United States trash crisis. That's what we're trying to do. First Lisa, then Stephanie. Yes.
Okay. I have a couple of points to make. First, you were speaking about the rodent problem is as much commercial as residential. Wind Waste would be a commercial entity taking in trash not only from Stoughton residents, but from other towns. Just as you stated earlier in your presentation, you know, people aren't going to want an incinerator in their town. Why in God's green earth would we want trash from other people's towns other than, oh, it might mitigate some cost, but attracting more rodents when we already have a rodent problem? My second, in a moment, I'd like to get, I would like to, excuse me, I would like to ask my questions my way, just like you did across the room. Let her talk.
Go right ahead, Lisa.
You let somebody else ask multiple, I would also like to.
No, go right ahead, Lisa.
Thank you, I appreciate
But just for the record, I asked everybody to ask one question, then we come around again.
Okay, but you
go
broke
right
that
ahead,
rule,
please.
so I'm going to abide by the rule that you already
Lisa,
broke.
go right ahead, please.
Thank you. So the second point is again, I don't just feel this. It was just stated. We are being presented yet or being led down a path to make a decision when we don't have a comprehensive plan and all the facts in place. You cannot make, and I make this point at town meeting endlessly, we need a complete picture to make the best decision. We, as we stand here in this room tonight, do not have a complete picture. Furthermore, we were saying that everybody only gets one barrel, okay? That is limiting residents' choices.
2 barrels.
Yeah, but one for recyclable and one for household trash. Okay, the rodent problem relates mostly to household trash. So
I think I made clear, Lisa, that it bases on
excuse me.
Lisa, I can't remember all your questions, and you were allowed one. So I'm going to give you another shot at this as soon as I answer the first 2 questions.
Okay.
I said earlier, for every citizen, the mix of barrels is going to be very different. Okay? We don't mandate that you recycle. You may order 2 95-gallon drums. So I hope that answers your first question.
But we don't know the price of that.
Okay. You're not being asked to make a decision. Tonight or in the future, you are not being asked to make a decision. This is an information session to share where we are right now. And as we collect the final data based upon negotiations with Wind Waste, which I'm spearheading, the whole package and all the backup data will be presented to the public through the board. And then they will make an informed policy decision as to whether to sign that contract or not. The Board of Selectmen makes the decision on the contract to do with Wind Waste. The Board of Health makes the decision as to whether to approve the minor modification requested by Wind Waste. Okay. What was your first question, Lisa? I'm trying to remember now. Or was it a statement?
I just want to address right now the fact that Stoughton doesn't own that land of Wind Waste, and it seems completely illogical to be holding negotiations or discussions with an entity who may not be in that land based on their negotiations with the Stoughton Redevelopment Authority. And it speaks to the divisiveness of the current leadership here in Stoughton by not coordinating with related parties or stakeholders. I'm sorry, that's how it should be said, with stakeholders, and Stoughton Redevelopment Authority is a stakeholder in this. And again, it speaks to an incomplete plan. It's to the previous speaker's
Lisa,
point.
is there a question?
Yes, it goes to the previous speaker's point about incomprehensive plans not being put in place and facts being put forward that turn out to be not true, like the 30-year tax calculator down to a 20-year.
Let's address that, because I read that online. We haven't even made an application for a mortgage yet. We haven't borrowed a dime for that school. Yet you're online saying you will.
First
Let me
of all,
finish, please.
I'm
My
not
turn.
online saying
My turn.
that.
I'll go print it right now if you'd like.
I am saying that
We haven't
bond
even
counsel,
spoken with the bond
you
company.
were in a public meeting, Tom, and the select board said they voted for a 20-year drawdown when a 30-year tax calculator was put forth. So you're going to have to understand, the question is, do you understand the public does not trust what you say?
One of
because
us-
information that is
Lisa,
put
I'm
out
done
to
with you.
citizens
I'm done
in
with
this
your rambling.
town has
There's a
not
lot
been
of people
true.
here, Lisa.
That's a legitimate
There's a lot
question,
of
Tom,
people
that you
here.
obviously don't want to answer.
Now it's, I've
He
been,
wants the
I've been
answer
listening.
to it.
Sir, I've been listening to what she's had to say for 10 minutes now. Okay, well, let me see, because
We
I'm gonna
listened to you for an hour,
I'm
Tom.
gonna answer, I'm the moderator. I'm going to answer the question. On the thing you misled the public on, and now it's my turn, right? On the thing, you said that board voted to do a 20-year mortgage. They lied to us. They're doing a 30-year mortgage. I can go print it right now. It's my
It's
turn. Lisa.
reverse.
It's my turn.
You're
Lisa.
not the only one who can misspeak, Tom. They put out a 30-year tax calculator and then voted on a 20-year.
Thank you for
But
that.
I'm talking about the misinformation is coming from leadership.
Thank you.
I want to know how my budget is going to be affected. I want to know how this plan is going to help us in the future. Let's stay focused. The meeting set is for trash. Not about your garbage. You don't want to hear it. Not today.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, first Stephanie, then Cynthia. Of course.
Thanks. I just want to ask one question, and then I can, I have a bunch, but I just want to ask this one. This one's really kind of bothering me.
Sure.
Where we have 7 people running in this preliminary election, would it be the right thing to do to see who makes it through the election? And the reason why I say that is because someone who could get on the board could be 2 new people, could be, I say this with love, Deborah, an old person and a new person, an existing select board member. But what I'm saying is that someone could come up with a better idea. Would it be better to wait to do the negotiation and instead of kind of ramming it down? And I don't know if the Board of Health, if the board itself would be willing to wait I'm just suggesting that.
So let me
Just so that we don't know if another person would have a better idea or could come to you and say, hey, Tom, blah, 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 let's try this, or, are you going out to 3 bidders, or, what is it?
Well, let me answer that for you, Steph.
Okay,
and if you
thanks,
have a
appreciate
follow-up-
it.
but If you have a follow-up, I'm happy to take it. There have been over 6 public hearings before the Board of Health. 6. Wind Waste has made a proposal to us that is very attractive. We're not at the end of negotiations, we're at the beginning of negotiations, but it's very attractive. It solves the crises I described earlier. I never make decisions based upon the political winds. The information that I have now, I will present to whatever board is before us, because that's their purview. And if they decide they don't want to do it, I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt. I have a job to do to bring information to the public, to get input, and I appreciate all the input, and then bring the input and the results of the negotiation to the governing body of our town. What they do with that, it's then in their purview. Going back to the question, I just remembered what it was from the previous speaker about the redevelopment authority. There is this legal concept that many of you are familiar with called standing, legal standing. The redevelopment doesn't get a seat at the table as we negotiate with an independent third party any more than the town had a seat at the table when the redevelopment authority negotiated their lease with Wind Waste. We don't have legal standing. Now, if the redevelopment authority comes to the board or to me requesting some help, we're all ears. Now, the gentleman said they approached me. I've never been asked to a meeting of the redevelopment authority. Not once. Not once. And if the redevelopment authority wants something from me, listen, they work in the best interest of Stoughton. I've got the best interest in Stoughton. I'd love to sit down with them and work with them and give them whatever help I can give them. But I can't just put my nose into it without an invitation because we don't have standing. Did you have a follow-up, Steph?
Just maybe you could answer this one. You said before that we can't go to Page Street? For trash, the Page Street, it's just...
Right now, the permit is 800 tons a day for construction debris. The minor site assignment, the change they want to make to their permit is to convert 150 tons of that per day out of the 800 into MSW. Let me just repeat what I said earlier. I approached them. They didn't approach me. Because when I saw that they needed us, I was figuring, how can I get their resources to help us avoid this looming crisis? So they didn't come to us to negotiate a deal with us. I said to them that if you want the board to weigh in on this, somebody said the term quid pro quo earlier. Politicians hate that term, right? I said to them, are you willing to give us 15-year pricing? Yes. Are you willing to give us below market pricing? Yes. Are you willing to allow us to pick up our own curbside waste? Yes. That was the start of the negotiation. So we've got a framework for negotiation. The real negotiation is to get into the details. But I often hear about transparency. The reason we're here is so that we can be fully transparent and tell you where we are. We're not about to make a decision next week or next month. If the Board of Health does what they choose to do, and that's their right, if they say no, this is a dead deal. And I respect that. If they say yes, then we sit down at the table with Wind Waste, and my job is to procure a long-term deal for Stoughton that we can continue the curbside pickup. We've got the lowest price in the industry. We can deal with the rat problem, and everybody keeps their jobs. That was what I considered to be check, 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 check. And if we can pull that off, my bet is the board will support it. If we can't pull that off, then the board shouldn't support it. But we're not at the end of negotiations. We've agreed on a framework. And I've said to them, I'm not sitting down with you again until you go before the Board of Health, because there's nothing to talk about if the Board of Health says no, right? And if the Board of Health said yes, then I'm asking the Board of Health through a friendly amendment that it's subject to the town agreeing on the deal with wind waste. So it'll still be an open issue even after they vote it, should they vote it, until the town is satisfied with the terms and conditions from wind waste. I hope that helps.
It does, thank you. Just,
Cynthia, and then you.
I was going to make a comment. Just, you know, you've been here a couple years now, that you know
Over
that.
3.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
And in my 30-plus years of municipality work, you know, people don't really get into stuff till it's coming to the end. And that's what's happened now. And I'm very passionate about the DPW. And I will go on record on saying that. So I will be paying much more attention. And my job is, as a person and a resident of Stoughton and a taxpayer, is to protect the guys at the DPW.
Well, I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
We share that. You know, I started as a laborer here in Stoughton. I have an affinity for people that work hard in the cold, in the heat, and in dangerous positions. I was on the job in Newington, Maine, Newington, New Hampshire, when a Stoughton boy was killed in that tank. So I have a passion for Stoughton. I have a passion for hardworking people. Like I said, check, 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 check. Every major problem that I wanted to deal with when this became clear, we have a solution through this plan. And that's my job. And if people, at the end of the day, don't want to do it, then in 3 years, when one of the national firms come in and say, here's your price, take it or leave it, and we're doing the pickup, take it or leave it, that's what I worry about. I share your love for the DPW. Thank you. Cynthia, and then this lady.
Well, originally, this was supposed to be one question, and it's kind of degenerated from that. So I'm going to make a comment. Over a quarter of the people in Stoughton are seniors. There are more seniors than there are children. Statistically, at least 15% of those folks are disabled. I fit into both those categories. A previous speaker was mentioning Shaw's bags. I can no longer physically even carry a Shaw's bag to the curb. I have one kitchen-sized trash bag that someone carries to the curb for me. It's picked up, end of story. I don't know what I'm going to do now that I have to somehow find someone to drag 2 barrels to the curb and come back later and carry 2 or drag 2 barrels back. This is going to be, and I realize everything you said, some of this is going to be a real burden on those of us seniors who are aging in place and have no one else in the home to assist us. And I realize that's my problem and then that's their problem, but we really are a significant part of Stoughton. These meetings are held in the evening when many seniors will not drive. Sure, they can watch this on cable, but I think their voice is frequently left out simply because they can't get here and they can't get back.
Thank you, Cynthia. Yes, ma'am. It has wheels.
The CMAS contract?
Yes.
What'd you say, that expires in 2030?
January 1st, 2030.
So are you looking to get out of that CMAS contract, and then are we penalized for that?
Oh, no, we will ask CMAS for a 15-year contract, just like Wind Waste has offered us, and we will compare the two. We will compare the two.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely, it will.
Thanks. Yep. No. Thank you. Will we be penalized if we get out of the CMAS contract, which is now 4 or 5 years, whatever it was?
Sure. If it expires on January 1st, 2030, there's no penalty. Less than 4. We can't walk away from it, and they can't walk away from it without liquidated damages. So it'll expire, and then there's no responsibility.
But we're already starting negotiations right now. So are we not going to, we're starting negotiations, but we won't come to an agreement until the CMAS contract is complete?
That's a
is
really good question.
the
I'm so
end?
glad you raised that. It would be up to, should Wind Waste be awarded a contract, it's up to them to go to CMAS. We would bring the material to their facility, where our material would be isolated, and they would transport it to CMAS. We would get the bill from CMAS for the balance of the contract. They do that, we call it intermunicipal agreement, they call it intercompany agreement. So we have to honor the balance of the contract. Starting this year, it's not going to be a good contract. It's going up $10 a ton per year. And my biggest struggle on your behalf is to figure out how to absorb that $50 a ton increase over the next 5 years without it reaching your kitchen table. That's my biggest challenge. And the only way I can figure out how to do that is to be operationally more efficient through automation. But to your point on your question, to respond to your question, we will deliver it to Page Street. Page Street, they take ownership of it there and deliver it on a manifest with our name on it. And then they bill us as they are now until the last day of the contract. Now, let's say that they come up with a lower price. CMAS comes up with a lower price than Wind Waste. That's great news, because I can use that in negotiations. But at the end of the day, that means we have 5 more years. Just try to play this out with me. That means, let's say they give us a 5-year extension. CMAS does not do curbside pickup. They're an incinerator, okay? So we can continue to pick up. But at the end of those 5 years, and we go out to bid, then picking it up will be taken right out of our hands. So that's the concern we have. And you may say, man, this is a lot of complicated information. I got to tell you, my wife will tell you, I wake up at 1, 2, 3 in the morning every night trying to think about potential problems with this, the eventualities, the conflicts. The underlying priority was the 4 I put up earlier. Employee safety, employee lifestyle on the back of that dangerous truck, cost for seniors and for every citizen of this town. I wrestle with it every night. That's what you hired me to do, and that's what I do every single night. It's not perfect. I don't think anything in life is perfect. But when we set out the 4 objectives in the beginning, we check all the boxes. And if anyone after this meeting has got an idea, a better plan, man, I'd welcome that in a second. I have to go to other people, ma'am, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, I promise. I promise you. Right there, and then over to this side. Dawn.
Thank you. I have a 2-part question. I apologize.
That's okay.
The cost of the, I know, I should.
There you go, apologizing.
The cost of I would like to know the cost of the side truck versus the trucks, the rear end trucks, because one of the persons, our previous speaker, brought up the fact that where are we going to put the trucks, because they seem to be so much bigger. With that being said, are we going to have to build a new facility for those trucks? And with those trucks being bigger, I assume that they're bigger or wider. In some of the streets, will they be able to go down like the area that are like Water Street, Perry Ave, and those areas? Or will we have like a mixture so they can, be picked up accordingly? And also,
John, may I answer that
sorry,
one?
yes.
No, don't be sorry. May I answer that one, and then
Please,
you can
yes.
repeat the second one? The reason we put the trucks inside is because we got the facility to put the trucks inside. The spec in the trucks don't require us to put trucks inside. They can be outside. If we have the money one day and we can expand the size of the building to put them inside, we'd prefer that, but it's not required. Sometimes when trash is in a building, okay, I'll get right to you. Go ahead, Paul.
People have said that the trucks, the ASL automated side loader trucks, will not fit in our facilities, but we've reached out to the not only the trucks, but the people with the bodies and the arms, and they will fit. I'm sorry? No.
Thank you, Paul.
And,
You had a second question.
Yes, I'm
and
sorry.
then we'll go to one.
The second question on that is understanding that, and I saw the list of all trucks, it said all Macs, Mac, 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 Mac. And most of these guys, they do, when plow for the trucks or whatever, they're working on the Mac trucks. Will this be a Mack truck? Is it going to be a whole different truck with a different price tag? Because I did ask about the cost of a side versus the dump. So then, are they going to be retrained to work on that? Because they're a bunch of MacGyvers, duct tape and safety pins. I'm just.
Don, I'm not sure we're at the point of deciding whether the chassis be a Mack or a Peterbilt, but we will get that information. Excuse me. The question you asked a second ago was storage, but this second question, what was the other piece of that? Will they be trained? Yes. The drivers of the trucks, and I believe that's where some of this pushback is coming from. Right now, they're driving. We're going to be asking them through impact bargaining, through their union, to do an additional function. And clearly, they're going to have to be paid for that additional function. That's part of collective bargaining. We're very open to that. But it's going to be a more demanding job. There'll be on the passenger side. They'll pull up to the curb. They pull up right next to the drums, and they operate the stick to go pull it up, dump it, put it back down, and move on. That's additional work. So they would be paid for additional more. They would go through a formal training program before they ever hit the road, and they'd be paid for that training, and they'd be paid the additional money for the additional responsibilities that they would have. Thank you, Don. Over here, yes.
I have a question with the arm trucks. I know there's many streets off of Park Street that you have to back down. And are you gonna force the residents to move all the trash to one side? Because backing out onto a major road is not safe.
That's a specific I honestly don't have answers to, and I don't want to pretend I do. But I assume, and maybe it's a bad assumption, that if a rear end loader can get down there, the side loader can get down there. But if it can't, we are going to keep these two newer rear end loaders. And if we have to make that adjustment and pick up with a rear end loader to serve that resident, we'll do that.
I'm just saying.
Appreciate that.
I know, because we do back down it
I'm sure.
right now.
Right.
With the rear end loader, but with the arm trucks, it would be difficult because you're backing out onto a major.
Got it. If that becomes a problem, we'll have to tackle it by using an alternative technology. I'm glad you raised that. Yes, sir.
The wrap picture that you guys just put up there, I just did a quick Google search. It's a Getty image, so...
It's a what?
It's a Getty image, so it's like a generic image that you could find on Google. So now I'm just bringing up questions like...
I'm not techie enough to do that.
Well, I work in IT, so I do this every day. So now I'm just kind of questioning, is that a real picture, or are you just grabbing stuff from whatever?
I did... May I, if you don't mind, Lisa, have some manners. The picture was provided to me, but I will tell you, I come in a different route every day. I see rats all the time around bags. So whether that picture is from Stoughton, which I'm told it is, or not from Stoughton, I don't think anybody denies here that we deal with rats around our bags every single day. I appreciate what you said, I do. But the point is not the validity of the picture. The point is we have rats that are using plastic bags as our feeding source. And people may not know this. Rats get pregnant and have a baby in 14 days. 14 days.
They don't have a baby, they have a litter.
That's right. Kurt, one more from you, and then we're going back over here. We're coming back over there. Juan, I'm so sorry. I said you were next. I apologize for that. All you, Juan.
I think people would like to see a spreadsheet showing the current costs of a trash pickup, itemized out to personnel and current cost, whatever it is to do that.
course.
Plus the cost of the CMAS and what the assumed cost is going to be after 5 years, contrasted to the cost of the new trucks and the quantity of new trucks and the additional cost for the personnel, the increased pay for the personnel when they're going to be working in DPW, and the cost of the all the buckets that are going to be, be given. It's either you're going to have the town pay or you're going to have individuals paying.
Yep, I agree.
And basically all of that information balanced out so we can see what the cost would be compared to the cost of just having $10.
Sure.
And I have one more question related, if is it okay to say?
Yes, let me just respond to that and then ask that question. I agree with you completely. I would not put the issue before the policymakers without all that data. We're not at that stage right now, although Rachel's study provides a lot of that data to us, which alerted us to the problem. But the meeting with the Board of Selectmen will be wide open to the public. That data will be presented, and they will make an informed decision based upon all the data you just laid out. Your second question, Juan.
Yeah, the other one you said was there's 120. They want to have 120 tons a day of sanitary garbage going to the facility in Precinct 1. And my curiosity is how many garbage trucks from other towns are going to be rolling through Precinct 1 to go to that facility?
We produce 30, so there would be 120 tons, if it's at capacity every day, of material from other towns. I don't know which towns. We haven't spoken to anybody. I don't know if they've spoken to anybody. Yes, Mark.
This is one question I may be able to help out. One, in the site assignment, they actually lay out a specific truck route for all trucks, and that goes through the Avon Industrial Park.
Okay. But how many trucks would that be, roughly?
It depends how many towns you have, how many trucks they have. I don't have an account for you on hand.
What was the question?
So, I mean, if you think about it, Juan,
Per truck.
if you think about it, Juan, it's 800 tons per day. A truck can only hold so many tons. So they're allowed 800 tons per day. The tonnage is not
Just kind of
changing.
get an idea of how many trucks are going to be, new trucks are going to be rolling through the neighborhood.
Could be up to 15 trucks, but again, the truck route entering and exiting the facility is through the Avon Industrial Park, so they're really only on Stoughton roads for a quarter mile at the most.
Is that enforced to come in through that direction?
I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that.
One, it is enforced. One of the things that came up in the early negotiation is they want to put signage coming out of the plant and into the plant that provides even better guidance. Those that don't follow that route, and it is through Avon, it's not through Stoughton. Those that don't follow that route, we hear from Avon pretty quickly, and Avon speaks to us, and we dispatch our zone enforcement officer. They go to Wind Waste, they give them the plate number, they give them the information, and Wind Waste at the meeting this month is rolling out a new enforcement policy that will involve suspending vendors, customers from their plant that violate that more than twice in 1 year. So it's one of the things we told them they need to work on. Thank you, Juan. Yes, Leo. And then we'll go over here.
Yeah, just real quick, you had mentioned earlier about the mechanics in town, and they don't have time for the fire engines, the police engines, because they're working on these rubbish trucks quite a bit. Do your due diligence on new vehicles, because your mechanics are going to have to be trained. You're going to have to get all the hardware for it. You're going to have to buy software for these new diesel engines. The failure rates on these diesel engines are brutal.
Right.
I could tell you from managing a fleet of about 50 vehicles, they are down, they're in regeneration all the time. I mean, you're going to need a backup plan.
Absolutely, Leo. We have a whole lot of work done should we move in that direction. So I appreciate that. We're going to go over here now, Carolyn, and then Peter.
If these negotiations, if they micro
If these negotiations, when they take, if they go through and it's approved, how long after that would it take for this program to get up and running?
Sure, it's a year lead time for a truck. A year lead time.
So it would, at least a year once it's agreed upon before the first truck would go, and then you'd probably be adding a truck each year?
My bet is it would be 2 trucks a year for 3 years.
Okay.
Excuse me, 2 trucks a year for 2 years. The production rate on these are much greater than rear end loaders. So we're not going to need 8 or 9 or 10 trucks. We hope we can do it with in 3 days instead of 5 days with the rear end loaders. So we won't need as many trucks. So if you really think about it, although these trucks are $30,000 more than the rear end loaders, we will need fewer trucks with the side loaders than we will with the rear end loaders.
Okay, thank you. And my other question is we talked about you could have 2 barrels, 1 trash, 1 recycling, I guess of different sizes. Is there any rule that would say you cannot have 3 barrels if you buy the 3rd one from the town?
It's a great question. We haven't got to that point yet, but there's no reason we shouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gito, you've had your hand up for a while. Let me give this to you, Lou. Thank you, sir.
The only thing I wanted to ask about, I thought that Wind Waste was taking 150 tons from their existing contract and converting it to municipal waste.
That's correct.
Therefore, there shouldn't be very many more trucks than there are now.
That's the right answer. Thank you, Mr. Gito. That's the right answer. Over here still, Peter. Great.
Peter Banis, Precinct 2. A constituent texted me to ask who pays for the barrels.
We're hoping, Peter, to liquidate the old trucks. There still is a market for them, in many cases in Mexico, and raise enough money on the old trucks that we can pay cash for the barrels. So it will not be a charge. In either way, it's not going to be a charge to residents. I can guarantee
that was the question. Thank you very much.
I can promise you that, Peter.
Appreciate it.
Who else? Did anybody? Mr. Gio, did you have another question? Okay, somebody back there. Yes.
I don't have a question, but
thank you.
If I might comment.
Certainly.
I worked for the Department of Environmental Protection for several years, and one of the most difficult things for them to do was to deal with the solid waste program. So the idea that you were putting up before is absolutely on point. The problem is huge. It needs a solution. I think that you're doing what needs to be done, which is to tell people what the situation is and what the options are. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gito. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my question also falls in line with environmental. Since we'll be converting 150, is that 150 tons?
Yes.
Is there going to be any concessions being put into the contract with Wind Waste in case there's any kind of leakage? We're all using well water, a majority in this town, for all our water sources. And, you know, when there's long holidays, that trash is sitting there, things aren't moving. People are sneaky, they put things in the trash that are really bad for the environment, and that will leak into our water source. So will there be any kind of concessions be put in there for Wind Waste?
Thank you for asking that. That was a major concern of mine and of Mr. Tisdale's. Would you like to answer, Mark?
That's a great question. Part of our job and Larry's job and Board of Health is to review those technical aspects. So obviously MSD, municipal solid waste, it's got to be treated differently. It's got to be inside the building. There's got to be a state-of-the-art drainage system put inside the building with holding tanks and alarm systems. The alarm system will go off when that holding tank needs to get pumped. Those holding tanks need to get inspected quarterly, make sure that they're not cracked, not leaking, and a professional comes in paid by Wind Waste to come in. They'll be paid by Wind Waste, but it'll be hired by the town. So there'll be our contract with them, but Wind Waste pays the fee for that. So it's a system of checks and balances. Yeah. Mr. Calta just made a good point, too. There's an enhanced street sweeping program that's going to be rolled into that. Right now, I believe they do it monthly. I've heard weekly. It'll be at least weekly, maybe twice a week. Also, from my standpoint, my expertise is stormwater management, engineering design of that. The MSD, it's leaking out of trucks, right? I mean, it's not a contained truck completely, right? So outside the site, all this catch basins will be upgraded with deep sump, hooded catch basins, new catch basins. There'll be an enhanced frequency of inspections to make sure that those systems are functioning, making sure they're cleaned. DEP requires those deep sump hooded catch basins to be pumped out twice a year. We're going to require 4 times a year, at least, or when they're full. Those catch basins, the things with the grates in the parking lots, those discharge to underground pipes that go to detention basins, usually near wetland areas, very sensitive area. Those detention basins will have to also have an increased inspection frequency. You can do water testing. There's just visual inspections you can do to see if the system's working or not. Things like that.
Can you tell me how many private wells are located in the radius of that area? Private residential wells?
I don't have the answer to that right now.
And then will those residents get testing through the town, if available, to test to see if their personal wells have been contaminated by the new increase of municipal waste?
I'm sure that's something that we can negotiate the details on, but there are, just for the public's information, a series of monitoring wells all around the perimeter of the site that they're required to do water testing directly on site. So obviously, if there's a hit, they have to address that issue, and before it mitigates any further. Those are before the personal wells.
Before the personal.
Yep. What's that?
There is a lot of the town's water system infrastructure in that location, in that area of town also. So I don't know the number of wells, but I know a lot of businesses and residents are on the town's water system.
Do we know of any issues with wind waste that have had with local environmental issues with any local towns? Anybody suing or issues of wind waste? Yeah, current litigation. That's a great word. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Perry. I'm a town sanitarian. Unfortunately, I haven't done research on the company Wind Waste about their past or historical impacts. I can't speak for the Board of Health. We're actually having a meeting in 2 weeks on February 26th for a public hearing for the minor modification. So this is more about collection and everything else that we're not doing. But day to day, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to, I'll give you my card.
I just would like to add to Larry's comment. I'm not sure if he quite understood what you were asking. But I think I do. DEP also monitors the site. And if there's an environmental issue that occurs, it has to get reported to DEP. And they also do random inspections out there. They submit quarterly reports, I believe, Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, to the Board of Health with all those issues documented, if there are any issues. Yes.
Their audit questionnaire will answer that question directly, by the way. There is a specific audit question that says, is the company managing any current litigation? So that answer will be in an audit report.
Correct.
I just have one last thing. I'm also in Precinct 1, and the trucking, where Amazon is not fully operational yet. Those trucks we're not even seeing the full power of those trucks. And I know there's sometimes a line to get into the waste facility over in Page Street, and that means idling trucks, and there's a lot of traffic as it is. And I know you guys did say a few seconds ago that you haven't calculated because you don't know how many towns will go in on this project. But what what can you say to the town people with the traffic situation and the smog? And, you know, we can't fix our infrastructure with the lights and whatever. It's like what we have is what we have. Can you give us any peace of mind with the regards of idling trucks, more noise pollution?
I like to just revert back to what Mr. Gito said. I tried saying it, obviously it was not clear. Mr. Gito clarified it very well. The facility is permitted for 800 tons per day. So there's only so many trucks that can deliver their material there because trucks only carry so many tons per day.
It's not an increase of truck, just a reallocation of type of trash.
Correct. All right, so I guess I'm moderating now. All right. I'll start in the back there. You can ask another question.
I was on home.
All right.
So you brought up the whole thing about So you brought up the issue about buying new trucks, okay? I'm not sure who the gentleman over there is, the really nice gentleman that said that they probably won't fit in there. So with that comment, are you guys going to do any type of research to see if these trucks are going to fit in there and how much it's going to cost the taxpayers to build something to be able to fit them?
Why don't we just have a one-way truck drive in tomorrow?
Yes.
And that will be presented prior to any votes being taken.
I'm doing just as good as you moderating this. Yeah, I got you.
One quick question. Where it's a right-handed drive, are these going to be used for plowing or anything else, or strictly trash?
These won't be used for plowing, just trash.
Yeah, no, side loaders aren't normally unless they're municipal style, like Peterbilt. But to go into that, I was wondering, we normally use our old trash trucks as sanders, so I was curious as to why we are selling them when we have like a 1984 and a 1985, one that recently just broke down almost permanently.
We'd be selling them to raise money for the bins so that we don't ask taxpayers to pay for the bins. As you pointed out earlier, we're losing transmissions and other major components. So that's the last piece of equipment I'd like to hang on to. We don't want to use them for plowing. We want to sell the older ones, generate cash, pay for the bins so that the citizens don't have to.
Just to rebuttal, Tom, I'm not talking about the trash trucks. I'm saying we convert those old trash trucks into sanders using our old sanders. We cannibalize our old trucks, reduce, reuse, recycle style, so that we don't have brand new trucks going out into the road being eaten up by salt. You want an old beat up truck. You never want a new truck doing that business.
Maybe we could keep one or two of them, Kurt. Thank you for that input. One more over here, and then we'll come back here, and then over there. We'll go 1, 1, 1. Anyone over here? Okay, anybody over here? Go right ahead.
How come we haven't mandated barrels for curbside pickup yet to try to resolve the rat problem?
Because they would have to be small barrels, and that would... Right. Yeah. That's something if this all fails, maybe that's what we should be doing, is just regulating barrels and not open containers. Go right ahead.
How come we haven't tried to minimize the amount of waste? Like you want to go to 96-gallon barrels, we could have switched to 3 barrels for the 96.
That's actually been a recommendation of DEP. So you're onto something good there. That is way down the stream. It's a very good point. The question is, are we disincenting people from recycling when we give them 96-gallon barrels for draft? Is that your point? For trash?
Yeah, if we were to stay with
Smaller barrels. That's a wide open question. That's something we'll get input from DPW, you guys. That's input we'll get from the DEP. And to Juan's point, when we make a presentation to the board, there'll be a strong recommendation based upon that research. I appreciate you raising that. Juan, Stephanie, and then we're going over here. You haven't asked a question, have you? Go right ahead, sir.
So my question is, you say that CMAS is 41 years old and she's just about to the end of, she's ready to be put out to pasture.
Yes, it's 41 years old. 1988 is when the contract was signed. I've got a copy of it here. Whether it's at the end of life, I'm not an engineer.
No, I understand that.
But incinerators have an end of life, and they're not into their 40s or 50s.
Okay, so with that being said, our trash truck does pick up, it takes it to Wind Waste, and it dumps 150 tons on their floor. They
30
load
tons
it
a day.
into, I'm sorry?
30 tons a day,
Yeah, but 150 tons max.
but not
What
from
was
us.
Previously spoken.
Got it, yeah,
Anyway,
got it, yeah.
One, how many days is that trash going to sit there before it gets loaded into a 100-yard live floor, taken to CMAS, to a building that may close in 5 years? What's going to happen to our trash if CMAS, as you say, may close? Do we have a backup plan for 150 tons of trash a week to an incinerator that we can't bring it to anymore? What does the town do then? What does the taxpayer do then?
That's what this meeting, that's what this information is all about. That could very well happen. So the question is, what should we be doing now in case that's a great potential? That's exactly why we're here, is if CMAS closes and we are at the mercy of 4 national companies, we have no negotiating leverage. We will pay exactly their bottom line. We'll have no choice because there'll be no other alternatives.
And then part 2.
Yeah.
How many tons does the trash trucks carry now?
Paul?
13, 15 ton?
Average about 11.9.
So those trucks in length, because it can only be so many inches long to make it through the streets, switching over to a sidearm loader, that whole contraption is in the front third of where you would put your trash, right? And so on the hoppers that we have now, rear loading hoppers, they have a big wall at the front that stuffs all the way in the front, pushes the trash out. How much volume are you losing for these guys to pick up trash? Are we going to fill a truck in 5 streets instead of 10 streets? You know, because you're losing volume because of the sidearms of these machines.
It will be less. I don't know exactly how much less, but it will be less.
So taking the fact, we'll just throw out a quick number between, because my company buys trucks left and right. You're talking $300,000 to $500,000 for a truck, give or take.
350? Is that right?
For the side loader?
Yeah.
About 450.
So I'm not that far off. Well, if you go into the city and you see Waste Management's trucks, they have what picks up that little trash barrel on the back of the hopper on the right side so that the person putting that barrel there is safe. What is the cost factor to outfit the 2 newest trash trucks with that rear and the rear hoppers to still pick up the 36-gallon container and dump it in the rear hopper?
Are you saying there still has to be a person on the back of the truck?
Yeah, but now you're only cutting one guy out instead of 2. But now you're back to the point where these guys have to back down a street with a right side loading arm. You're not going to tell the homeowner to put your barrel across the street.
Sure.
So now they have to drive down, back out, turn around, and back down.
Sure.
Now, how much wasted time is that?
Studies have been done with these side loaders in urban and suburban areas. All the towns around us are using side loaders. So these are not new problems. They're not They aren't without solutions, right? But the reality is that the rear-end loaders are dangerous. They're very inefficient. They're very expensive. These cost us $30,000 more, the side loaders, than the rear-end loaders. Again, I got to keep going back to the original 4 points. My objective was to make it safer, less expensive for the taxpayers, faster. It's 30% faster than the side loaders. We've got the studies to show that. It's in the back of your handout here. We started out with 4 objectives saying, what do we want to achieve? And this plan, in its framework right now, does that. So to your first question, I think it was your first question, if we wait and just go down the road with CMAS and don't do something, that will be a crisis.
Well, no,
even if it's with CMAS.
Yes,
that would be okay
but if we sign on with CMAS, we're still taking our trash to their location. It's going to sit there XYZ days. The rats, take it to Win before it goes to CMAS.
Wind Waste turns their trash, their C&D, every 24 hours. The only time they don't turn it if it's comes in late on Friday, and that's why their permit says 72 hours. They have till Monday to move it.
If I had my phone, I would dig you out a picture that I took when I was there with my company's roll-off.
Okay.
With the trash, the C&D, coming out of door number 4 into the parking lot. You can't tell me that trash is going in and out of Wind Waste all the time, because I'll sit there for 3 or 4 hours to dump one load and not see 100-yard trash truck come in and get loaded with C&D.
Okay.
They
well,
just keep stockpiling it.
You have inside information. I'd like to hear more about that. No, I'd like to hear more. I really appreciate that. I'd like to hear more about that, because I will bring that up in negotiations. And Mark will bring it up in the negotiation of the permit.
At the meeting with the Board of Health.
Anything more you can get me on that, I'd be grateful.
And I showed them the photo, and I asked the guys flat out, what can you tell me about door number 1 and door number 4? They're like, what's wrong with the doors? I'm like, I have a picture. The trash.
You've made your point. I'd love to hear more about it. I really would. That's good stuff. Stephanie.
Thank you, Tom.
And we have to go over there.
Just to touch on the lady in. Shh! I'm talking. To touch on the lady with the red hat, she lives in Precinct 1. I grew up in Precinct 1. Juan lives in Precinct 1. The amount of traffic isn't just with the trucks. It's also with the cars. We always knew when it was 3 o'clock because the traffic from the light was backed up almost down to Old Maple Street and Pine Street. My concern is, because I still have family that lives in that area, will we have a full complement of police now? Will we have, like the newbie cops writing out tickets? Because it's not fair to the people that live in that precinct or that area that have to deal with the trucks, because they don't go slow on 139. They bomb. And I know that because I personally lived across the street from where Juan lives. So that's a very big concern, and I would expect the police to be enforcing the trucks down there that don't go through Avon Industrial Park, because it's not fair to the kids. There's an elementary school down there, so that we have to be conscious of that. Also,
Steph, on that point, I agree with you. Nobody can disagree with that. But remember, it's only the C&D trucks, the rubbish trucks, that have to go through the industrial park. The rest of them aren't confined to going through the Avon Industrial Park.
Correct.
Most of the traffic is through Avon.
And I understand that, but you're always going to have those trucks. There's Amazon down there, there's the logistics park, and they head to Randolph.
Yep.
So even though you're saying just the trash trucks are going to go through that, it has to be policed, in my opinion.
Yeah, they do. I've seen the tickets. I've got reports of the tickets. If they're breaking the law, they are cited whenever possible. We now have a full complement of police officers. We're fully staffed.
Yep.
Deputy O'Connor was here the other night in front of the board, and that was exactly the line of questioning about citing vehicles that are going too fast through this town, especially trucks in that area. Next question?
Yes, and I can't remember who mentioned, I think it was Mark that mentioned about the sweeper. If we do get this wind waste, when you mentioned the sweeper, is wind waste going to sweep, or are we going to have the DPW guy sweeping?
Oh, it's wind waste, yes. Their equipment, their people.
I think that's going to be, as long as we're very conscious about the trucks in that area, because
Yes.
growing up down there where Pine Street and Old Maple, kind of where the dog park is, that was known, and you're going to know I'm a townie from this, it was called Dead Man's Curve. And if you happen to drive from Turnpike Street heading up to Stoughton, the street up there, I forget where I am right now, I'm past my bedtime, but in real life, a child, they were speeding, didn't make the corner and hit the stone wall, and you can still see to this day where the stone wall was taken out, because speed's a factor down there, and I'm really going to push for police down there. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. One quick question, and then we have to go to this side.
Yeah, this is a very quick question. Since their Wind Waste wants to convert their facility from its construction, a portion of it from construction waste to municipal waste, the smell profile for construction waste is different than one from municipal waste.
Mm-hmm.
Have they've told you what they plan to do to mitigate the waste that's going to be in there? And as he was saying, piling up sometimes for a couple days, if during the weekend, on the summertime, how to prevent that from having the smells blowing into Precinct 1 when the winds they're coming in an unfortunate way.
So I asked the chairman of the Board of Health to list a bunch of questions that needed to be answered before they come back before them on the 8th. Wind Waste has prepared answers to all of those questions. They operate a number of waste-to-energy facilities throughout the country, and they use, I don't know the name of it, I can get it for you, they use a biodegradable and non-toxic film that they inject into their existing water misting station that holds down the dust of the C&D. When they put this material, as they do at all their plants, as all waste, as CMAS does, when they inject this liquid in with the water mist, it keeps not only the dust down, but any possible odor from emanating from the site. That's going to be addressed in open session at the public hearing at the end of the month, because that was one of the questions raised in the letter from the chairman. There were 8 questions they want answered, and Wynn is answering them all prior to the meeting. It's a good question. Lisa, I've got to go over here.
I just want to answer the question, previous lady's question.
May I-
Wind Waste was cited by the DEP, and Board of Health was notified while I was on the Redevelopment Authority.
Good news. Good information, I mean, thank you. Rachel. I can't, you need this.
Building on that, and I gotta say I love it when Lisa and I are on the same side of a question. They applied recently to have the environmental study or whatever gone only once a year as opposed to once every quarter, and I wanted to know if you could put in negotiations that they have to have it done every quarter. Wind Waste applied for something that they would only have to have the study or the environmental inspection once. They now have it once a quarter. They want to move it to once a year. I think, as Lisa and I are aware from their previous environmental infraction, that we should have it once a quarter.
So the minor modification is going to trigger a complete upgrade of the site assessment, probably within the year. So it hasn't been upgraded for 24 years, I think, was the last time the site assignment was revised. So there's a number of issues, the trucking, anything. If the board, should the board decide to do this allocation, it's going to change the whole site assignment, and they're going to have mechanisms in there for increased enforcement, for reports, the frequency of reports, who's going to be doing those reports, There's going to be environmental consultants involved. So there's a lot of issues, and all this is going to be addressed when the site assignment is upgraded. And that's what our meeting in 2 weeks is going to be talking about, a lot of these points. Yeah, it's definitely going to be more oversight.
Thank you very much, Larry. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I give you this one. I give you this one. I won't have to speak.
That's it. I know the whole concept is to have the best possible price, and that's your focus for the town. And I know there's other components like the
Four
truck
priorities, right.
and whatnot. But have we able to reach out to CMAS to say, this is what we're doing with Wind Waste? What can you do for us? And then see what they bring to the table?
Sure. This won't be brought to the Board of Selectmen for a policy decision until I have done that. I need to know what hand I'm holding before I go to them to see what they can do for us.
So you need to get the 150 passed by the board, by the other board, to have that in your corner before you can go to CMAS?
Well, do you play poker?
No.
The hand you hold determines the deal you get.
So you wouldn't, but obviously this is a public meeting, so our deals are kind of out in the open now, right? Your
Let me
hand is
explain the
out.
process then. If the Board of Health says no, then I will go on my hands and knees to CMAS and ask them for relief for the next 4 years, where they're increasing it at $10 a ton every year. I'll grovel, I'll beg, I'll do everything and say this is unsustainable. If they say no, then we own those price increases that have been in place for 15 years. It's very sad that it was back-end loaded like this. If they say yes, I suspect if I'm looking at the hand they're holding, they're going to say, we'll waive that $10 a ton for the next 4 years and then give you this preferred pricing for another 5. So then we look at that and we go to Wind Waste, and Wind Waste says, this is what we will honor their price. We will call your hand. We'll honor their price for the next 4 or 5 years. And this is how complicated it gets. And then we'll give you another 10 years for a total of 15 at this lower price. And I say, okay, well, that's good. That's good. But what don't we have? We don't have the local transfer station, and we don't have them transporting down to Rochester. Those are all savings. But if they vote no, I'm back here saying to people, we tried. Board of Health voted no, the deal's off. We just got to go back to CMAS and beg for mercy, but with no leverage. If the Board of Health votes yes, as I said earlier, us doing a contract, the board doing a contract with CMAS, it's getting late, with Wind Waste, is going to be subject, the permit implementation will be subject to a deal with them. So I'm just trying to build leverage in all corners, the art of the deal, the negotiation.
And if that goes through, how long would the contract with Wind Waste be?
The first 4 years of honoring CMAS's price, which I realize today is a horrible deal because of the increases, and an additional 11 years.
And then will there be anything in the contract that doesn't allow them to come back after and say, well, 150 municipal waste is okay, but we want 300 and we'll give you this price?
That question would be before the Board of Health. Again, we're highly segregated in terms of who has what authority. Only the board can vote on a long-term contract. Only the Board of Health can vote on a change to the permit.
No, okay.
I want to acknowledge the questions you're asking are so relevant, but this is what I'm living with. It's very complicated. And as the reason I started the presentation the way I did, there are 4 major priorities. My goal from the beginning is to make sure we go check, 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 check. You can only do that with 2 people in the game, CMAS and Wind Waste. Wind Waste has got a very, very, very attractive, at least what I thought until this morning, was a very attractive deal. But if their starting point, which they're offering in 4 years, is the drop-off point where CMAS ends, knowing now what I know, that we get a $10 a year increase for the next 5 years, That's not a good drop-off point. So I got to go back to them tomorrow morning and say to the vice president, we need to define drop-off point. I'll do it from where we are today. If we sign a contract and the Board of Health agrees to do this, the drop-off point, in other words, the starting point, is today's pricing, not in 5 years when you've increased it by $50 a ton. Because then we're no better off than we were with CMAS. Thank you for those questions. Another question from Rachel.
Well, this is more of a comment than that, but it's so complex, all of the systems, what you're honoring. It would be really convenient if you were a dictator and you could just do whatever you wanted by fiat for you. It would not be great for the town. And there are so many issues at play. Like, there are things that we could probably do that would be cheaper, but they might not necessarily fit all of the other town needs. We love our DPW. We want to keep them employed. We don't want to bring in outside contractors. Outside contractors would be cheaper in the short term, but it would be worse off for Stoughton. So you have to balance all of these different factors. It's a really difficult job. I really admire the way that you are putting it all together.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm really glad it requires 3 bodies. I'm really glad that the Board of Health, I can't get into the detail that the Board of Health gets into, and I respect what they do, and I will honor their decision. It'll kill the deal, but I'll honor their decision. I really am very grateful for the diligence of the Select Board, who will decide the prudence of signing a 15-year deal with somebody other than CMAS. And I ask that you know that whether it's side loaders or rear end loaders, that I will do all of the research needed. The reason this town is in such incredible financial shape, in spite of arguments made by others, the data is the data is the data, is because we've worked very hard to consolidate, to use technology, to reduce staff when people retire and find better ways of doing that same job. We're doing the same thing here with the operations side of that. And all I'm asking for, folks, I know you have strong opinions. I respect that. I really do. I respect it. All I ask is you go back to that first chart, and we can pass those out, Paul, if you wouldn't mind, the presentation. Okay. If you go back to those first major problems, I could have presented just one chart and said, this is my priority. These are my objectives. And if we can check all 4 boxes, then Stoughton's in good shape. If we can't check all 4 boxes, we got a very, very, very dark storm coming. And so do the other 350 other cities and towns in Massachusetts. I'll close by saying I would have loved to have skated right past this. I really would have. I really would have. Retire in 2 or 3 years and just not take on this incoming that I take on online and sometimes in person. But that's my job. When I came here 3 years ago, we had enormous challenges. We were very close to insolvent as a town. We were using $5 million just to balance our operating budget. We had $1 million in our savings accounts. Today we have $20 million. Today we're not using free cash to balance our budget. Today we have no structural deficits. The town, your town, I'm so proud of, is in great, great shape because we're taking the hard problems on head first. That's the only way I know how to do it. And, you know, maybe one day you need a town manager that's just going to do what others in this state do. Don't make waves. But that's not what your charter calls for. Your charter calls for a strong town manager who runs this town like a business, not a dictator. We are highly bifurcated. We're bicameral. The town manager has authority. The Board of Selectmen have authority. The Health Board has authority. Nobody gets to make this decision unilaterally. And all I want to do is drive the transparent process. There's a lot of people in this room who have a lot of things to say about me, but what's not fair is when you say we're not being transparent. That's why we're here tonight. That's exactly why. So let's continue the dialogue. Let's continue to collect information. I want to go back to Juan's point. We will not go before the Board of Selectmen without the exact level of detail Juan cited. We're at a very early stage, bless you. And I'm at the stage where I'm trying to get to the best deal for the town of Stoughton. And that's what I do for a living. I bought companies. I fixed broken companies, 8 of them. This is a broken situation through no fault of Stoughton's. I'm just trying to find a way out of this for our taxpayers and for our residents. Listen, I want to close by saying I am so very grateful to each and every one of you, especially our employees, for coming here this evening. I'm sure you had much better things you could have done, and Cynthia agrees. So I'm very grateful. You are the type of people, no, whether we agree or disagree in this room, that you come out allows me to hold all of you in very high regard. This is what an open process should be like. I'll share this one point in closing. If you recall, a month after I came here, we had a similar public information session about regional 911, right? And when I drove into town my first day, I saw these signs about 911 with X's through them. I said, what's this about? So I read everything that was written about regional 911. I went down and I interviewed them. I did my due diligence. And the deal was that they would hire all 11 of our dispatchers at a substantial raise. The deal was, which would save us $1 million a year. The deal was they would invest up to $10 million in the state-of-the-art technology in our new fire department that replaced Stoughton's primitive, historic dispatch system. So I did as I'm doing here. I tried to find the major flaws, the major holes in that proposal, and I couldn't find one. So the day of the public information session, I was released from the hospital. I had major stomach surgery. And I stood right there for the same amount of time, almost 3 hours. And I started it off by saying, folks, you have to help me understand something. Why is it that we don't feel entitled to have the best communication equipment in the EMS community for the donut, for nothing? Why is it we don't think taxpayers deserve a $1 million discount on labor? So I'm here, they're here, meaning the 911 people, and there were lines on both sides. And I said, I'm here to be informed, because I can't find a hole in this deal. Other than it was a 3-year deal. We start paying 25% of our own expense next year. So I said, I'm all ears, folks. I'd love to get your comments, your feedback, and your guidance. And I'll stay here till midnight. As long as you got questions or you want to give testimony, I'm here to take it. We stayed here till almost 11:15. Some of you were here. Peter was here, I remember that. Lou was here. At the end, everybody's saying, why aren't we doing this? And we did it. And those employees all work with the best technology in Holbrook with a big pay raise. We have the best technology. You can call 911 right now. On their screen, it'll show that Cynthia is sitting right here on the 3rd floor of Town Hall.
Well, it says I'm in Brockton. I still have that issue.
Of course. And they demonstrated it right here that night. What that means, and Select Board member Deborah often says facts are friendly. And I'm going to end where I started. I have to believe that when reasonable people look at good data, and this is a process, we don't have all the data for you yet, because we're not sitting down at the bargaining table yet. When reasonable people get good data, they typically reach the same conclusion. And that's why I started with the 4 objectives. If you think another objective should be on there, in other words, a measurement matrix, something that we have to achieve, I came up with 4. If you've got a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th, we'll negotiate the deal towards those other 3 as well. Those are the 4 that keep me up at night. Their safety, taxpayers' burden, rats, and the fact that the market is consolidating with these tipping rates. It scares the hell out of me. So with that, again, many thanks. Everybody, please drive home safely. Thank you. Don't ask for help.